Welcome, class of 2023, to your sophomore registration presentation. We hope that this information answers questions that you may have and builds a sense of excitement about your upcoming sophomore year. Okay, the next two slides are details that we will go over with students every step of the way. So every spring registration cycle, we talk about your grad requirements and where you are in meeting those grad requirements. But it's a good idea for you to become familiar with them so that you can start planning out what you want the next 3 years of high school to look like. So we'll walk through each of the grad requirements, and you'll notice too that alongside the CHS grad requirement, the center column refers to those UC CSU minimum admission requirements. Those are basically the requirements of four-year colleges. Earning a C or better in each of these subject areas in the amounts that is indicated will keep students on track for meeting the requirements for most four-year colleges. And for a select few of our students who are thinking about collegiate athletics, the last column is important because you want to make sure that you're doing what you need in order to stay in compliance with the NCAA Division I requirements as well. So let's get started, and I'll also say that you can find this information on our CHS website. So students, you should be aware that you all need social science to graduate. You need 3 years of social science. Now, in your ninth grade year, social science wasn't a part of your schedule. That's by design because you complete those 3 years in your sophomore, junior, and senior year. So in your sophomore year, you will take world history, followed by U.S. history in your 11th grade year, and a semester each of government and economics in your senior year. English is a requirement that you need for both graduation and college, and you need 4 years of it. In other words, you have English every year of high school. So you will need to take 4 years of English. And students who are four-year college bound, we really encourage you to make sure that you keep an eye on your English grades because C's or better are what the four-year institutions expect. And so earning a D in an English class, even though that would give you graduation credit, that would be an omission on the part of the college, and they would require you to retake that course maybe in summer school. The math requirement for graduation is 2 years of math. So once you have completed Math 1, which is a requirement, any additional year of math counts as that second year of math, and then you are finished with math for graduation purposes. However, your counselor will always emphasize the importance of staying in math for all 4 years. It's just a good practice for whatever you're planning on doing after you graduate from high school. The actual requirement for four-year institutions is to have a year of integrated 1, a year of integrated 2, a year of integrated 3. That is the minimum requirement for four-year colleges. And again, 4 years is recommended. In the area of science, in order to graduate, students need to have a year of a biological science and a year of physical science. So students who have currently fulfilled their biological science this year by being in biology, next year you would take a physical science. And if you're currently in a physical science, then next year as a sophomore you'll take a life science, and that will complete your 2 years of science for graduation. For college purposes, they too require 2 years, that's the minimum, but 3 years are recommended. In the area of fine arts and world language, you will note that in order to graduate from CHS, you need to have either a year of art or a year of world language or a year of career tech. So that means you can have an art class, a language class, or an ROP class, such as computer game design, stage tech, virtual enterprise. Those are all career tech classes. Any 1 year of those fulfills the graduation requirement. That's a bit different for the Cal State and the UC system. They actually require both of those subject areas. So for the university, you need to have a year of an art class. And the good news is we have a ton of art classes. Most of the electives at Claremont High School fall in the art category. So whether it's theater, music, visual arts, those are all courses that would fulfill the fine arts requirement for college. And likewise, you don't need a world language to graduate. However, you do need to have at least 2 years of the same world language in order to be eligible for most four-year colleges. And in fact, 3 years are recommended. So students who are completing a year of language as freshmen, we would encourage you to move into that second year of the same language next year. If you have not started a language, but you are thinking of going to a four-year college, and you have done well, C or better, in your current English class, then we would encourage you to consider starting a world language next year in order to have the opportunity to get through at least 2 years of a language by the time you graduate. Moving on, we will see that the next subject requirement for graduation is PE. Now, you don't need PE for college purposes, but you do need 20 credits of it to graduate from Claremont High School. Fortunately, most of you have completed or are completing freshman PE this year, and that means you would only need 10 additional PE credits between now and graduation. Some of you who are involved in sports or band will earn PE credits that way. So every PE season, every sports season earns you 2.5 PE credits. And so it is possible for a student to complete freshman PE and then be based on future sports activity that they will be doing, could potentially earn PE credits that way. But a large number of our sophomores will take PE in their sophomore year because they know that they aren't going to necessarily do a sport, or they don't want to rely on having to do a sport, and so they'll use that sophomore year to fulfill their PE requirement. On your course contract, you can choose a PE course. We don't have sophomore PE, but we do have a variety of courses that you can indicate to fulfill your PE requirement. 75 elective credits are what's required beyond those requirements that we've already gone through. That sounds like a lot, but just keep in mind that anything that spills over beyond what's required is elective. So students, once you've moved into your second year of an art or your third year of a math, that's beyond what's required. That becomes elective credit. So as long as you're passing your classes, you will have no problems earning the elective credits that are indicated there. Keep in mind for four-year college-bound students that the G requirement is a year of college prep elective. Again, that is very easy to fulfill. Anything that's beyond what is required is a college prep elective. So again, once you move into that third year of a science, that's a G requirement. Once you move into the second year of an art course, that's a G requirement. All students who will take government and economics as seniors, government and economics are considered the G requirement, so that's not a problem either. C's are better in your A through G coursework will keep you in alignment with what the universities are looking for. I'll go into details about the Tech Ed requirement in the next slide. Just be aware, students, that if you are planning to attend a four-year college, in the future, we will be talking to you each year about the SAT and the ACT. Just know that those are not graduation requirements, but those are admission tests that some colleges and universities do require of students in order to be admissible. Okay, technology education. Like I said in the previous slide, this is a semester-long grad requirement. It is not required for college, but to graduate from Claremont High School, you do need to fulfill Tech Ed. Some of you who took computer survey and passed it at El Roble have already met that requirement. If you didn't attend El Roble or if you didn't take that course, no worries. Tech Ed is a relatively easy class to fit into your schedule over the course of 4 years. Some of you might be interested in taking it during summer, and we should soon have information on our website about CEF summer school offerings this summer. CEF, the Claremont Educational Foundation, usually will offer this course as a fee-based course that you can take in the summer, and again, details will follow about that on our website. But also keep in mind that those of you who are proficient in the skills that are listed here on the slide, you might be interested in taking the Tech Ed Challenge exam. The Tech Ed Challenge exam is generally offered about 3 times per school year. There is no penalty for taking the test, and if you feel that you can pass that test, if you have the skill set, then we encourage you to do so, and then you aren't required to actually take the course. All right, so now that we've talked about what it takes in order for you to graduate from high school, let's talk about the real reason why you're in high school. Hopefully it's to get involved and have a good experience growing your mind and your leadership, but we're thinking about what you're going to do after high school. This should be a place where you're starting to get the foundation for what comes next. So let's talk about options after CHS and where you can begin to start exploring careers, interests, colleges, all the things that will help you decide what you're going to do after you graduate. We use Naviance as a school, and Naviance is a career readiness software that partners with various high schools to provide students with college planning and career assessment tools. And this is the tool that we use at CHS, and you should have a Naviance account set up already. You will visit the College and Career Center every school year so that you can kind of get reacquainted with Naviance, but we encourage you to use this on your own. Don't just wait for that one time of year that you go to the Career Center to use it. You have a Naviance account, we want you to explore it so that you can start looking at colleges and careers, understanding when colleges are going to be on campus to talk to students about their institutions. So you'll get more information about that when you come back in the fall, but just know that Naviance is our resource that we will direct you to many different times during your time at CHS. All right, so students are often thinking about college after high school, but they don't always understand the differences between the different college systems. So we highly encourage you to explore them all. Community colleges are an excellent resource for many of our CHS students, and you should understand that community colleges only require a high school diploma or that you're 18 years of age in order to begin your community college career. Many students will attend a community college after high school with the intention of transferring. So they'll go to a community college for about 2 years, taking general education coursework, and once they finish up that coursework, they can transfer to a 4-year institution, such as UC Riverside, UCLA, Cal Poly Pomona. You should know also that community colleges offer honors programs. There's usually a GPA requirement for that, so we again encourage you to be a serious high school student so that you can qualify for honors programs at the community college level. And honors programs are great because there's a higher transfer rate for students who are going to a 4-year college if they've participated in an honors program at schools such as Citrus, Chaffey, Mount Sac, which are our local community college systems. Some students will use the community college not as a transfer opportunity, but because they realize that the job or career that they want actually just necessitates having a certificate or workforce training that they could get right there at the community college level. So again, the more you research now, the better equipped you are to know what's the best pathway for you to follow once you graduate from Claremont High School. Now we know vast majority of our students are thinking about attending a 4-year college or university directly after CHS. And so one way to think of the institutions, 4-year institutions, is that they are usually either a public institution, such as our Cal State and our UC system, or they can be private institutions. They could be in-state or out of state. So our public universities, for example, would be Cal Poly Pomona, Cal State Fullerton, San Diego State, UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Berkeley. Those are our public institutions. And out-of-state institutions exist as well that are public. So University of Texas, University of Georgia. Many states have a state school system. Our local private schools would be places such as the Claremont colleges right down the street, University of Laverne, APU. You are very fortunate that there are a multitude of public and private universities really close to where you live. Let's talk a bit more about our public school system because, again, you are so fortunate to have so many schools right here in California that are part of our public school system. The UCs and the Cal States are those public institutions, and there are 9 UC undergraduate institutions and 23 Cal State institutions. This is just a small description of what differentiates the two. Each school is different. It's made up of its own fabric and its own specialties, so we encourage you to research. But just at a glance, you can see some of the differences between the two. Both at this point in time do require an SAT or an ACT. So again, we will encourage students to be preparing for those exams throughout high school. Private colleges are spread out throughout the country, throughout the world, and each college has its own admission requirement. Now the good news is if you're meeting those UC A through G requirements that we've already talked about, you're going to satisfy the requirements of most private colleges. So at this point in your academic career, since you may not be sure exactly where you're wanting to attend school, we always tell students it's a good rule of thumb to meet the A through G requirements because that's going to give you the most opportunity to go where you want to go after you graduate from high school. When you are inquisitive about a specific school, please go on that website. Contact the college directly because every college is different. So if there are certain things that you need to know, you probably want to talk directly with the admissions office or check out their website, and you can access all of those things by going to your Naviance account. A big part of being in high school is learning where your strengths lie, not just in the classroom, but your aptitudes as a leader, as a contributing member to society, and there's no better way to explore that than by doing volunteer work. Even though we don't have a specific volunteer requirement for graduation, we highly encourage students to volunteer when possible. And these are just a few local organizations in which many of our CHS students do apply or do volunteer to get a sense of different kinds of career pathways that they may be interested in. So students who are interested in going into the medical field, we highly encourage you to take advantage of some of our local medical facilities that might open their doors to having volunteers. A general theme that we are going to emphasize throughout your time at Claremont is that there is a college for everyone. Whether it is a community college, a four-year college, a specialty school, there is a place for you after graduation to continue to grow yourself as a professional. So please take the time to research. Sometimes students get caught on the names that they hear most frequently, about 185 schools that are quite popular in our country. However, they don't realize that there are over 2,500 colleges and universities across the United States that could be a really good fit. So again, research colleges based on the criteria that we have listed there to find what's a good fit for you. And again, we will be talking to you about this throughout your high school experience. Now, when we talk about college, we can't omit financial aid, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that because as rising sophomores, your biggest job is to take the appropriate coursework and do well in your coursework. But it's a good idea to start thinking about ways that you can finance your education. Parents, we're going to talk a lot about this, especially in your senior year and in the student's junior year as well. But just be familiar with the different types of aid. Federal aid includes grants, loans, and work study. Cal Grant is a term that you will hear, and it's money specifically for California residents. Scholarships is a biggie in our department because we want students to realize that there are ways that they can work towards getting their education paid for. And with grants and scholarships, students, this is the way that you can finance your education without accruing a lot of debt. So at this point in your academic process, please don't let the sticker price of a college deter you from exploring that school, but just learn about what opportunities exist for students to perhaps get grants, get scholarships, and get their education paid for based on good performance. Also, please note that there are 2 links that we would encourage you to visit. Each college has what's called a net price calculator on their website, and so if you did want to get a general idea of what these institutions cost, that will give you a general idea based on information that you provide about your family's income. Okay, every fall, usually in October, CHS will host the PSAT. Please be aware that the PSAT is an important test, but it's not critical if you didn't take it in your freshman year. Some of you will consider taking it as sophomores. It's most important in your junior year because it serves as a qualifying test for the National Merit Scholarship in your junior year. But again, it's a practice SAT. So many students will take it because they do want to practice what it will be like when they sit for the real SAT in their junior or senior year. It's a test that measures your critical reading, your math, and your writing skills. And again, it's a practice test. It doesn't work against you. Again, it can work for you in your junior year if you get a qualifying score. And it's just practice for those college entrance tests that you will have to take for many of the institutions you might want to apply to. It's offered once a year in October, and you'll sign up for that during registration in August here at CHS. Now, speaking of admissions tests, that SAT and the ACT, this slide just gives you again a brief overview of some of the similarities and differences between the 2 exams. Most institutions will not designate which one is mandatory because either or is fine for colleges and universities. Some schools are test optional, meaning that you don't have to take an exam for admission. And again, you would want to explore that college or university's requirements specifically to see if testing is even required. I would encourage you to take a look at each of the websites that are listed there, act.org or collegeboard.org, so that you can get more details about the tests themselves. And again, students will be talking to you about this every step of the way throughout your high school career. One of the best things that you can do to prepare for your admissions tests is to do well in your coursework. Students, if you're challenging yourself appropriately with the coursework that you're selecting, and if you're working hard and doing well in your classes, and if you're reading extensively, and that means not just what's assigned, but reading on your own to build your vocabulary, we find that those students are the ones who are generally the most prepared for admissions tests. Also, there's a free SAT preparation via Khan Academy, which is totally aligned with the test itself. And again, it's free and it's a great way for students to start practicing the type of questions they will see when they sit for the SAT. One last thing about tests, of course, when should you take these tests? Generally speaking, students will sit for the SAT or the ACT spring of their junior year. So you still have time, but it's good to plan ahead, which is why we're introducing you to these ideas right now. Your scores will be received if you take it in the spring of your junior year, early enough for you to retest or strengthen your skills so that you can test again as a senior if you need to. The goal is to not wait until your senior year to test. That's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. And so testing in your junior year generally gives you enough time to get an experience with the test, improve your score, and test again in the fall of your senior year if necessary. CHS offers both the IB program for the IB diploma and AP courses. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of what that means, these are courses that are highly rigorous and they involve an extensive analytical reading and writing component. So any student who is interested in pursuing IB or AP coursework, just be aware of that. These are rigorous classes. How can you best prepare for that? Challenging yourself as much as you can in your sophomore year that's appropriate. So if you choose to take an honors class next year, that's not a bad idea because it does give you a taste of the rigor that you'll be facing in your junior and senior year with IB or AP. However, it is not mandatory that you take an honors class in your sophomore year. You can still take AP or IB coursework in your junior and senior year, even if you don't have honors classes as a sophomore. Please note that IB and AP courses are weighted. That means that an A, which normally is worth 4 points, would be worth 5 points on an AP or IB scale. Likewise, a B would be worth 4 points. So you earn a weighted grade for those courses. There are AP and IB prerequisites. So in order to manage that type of rigor in your schedule, there are prerequisites that are explained in our course description book, just to let you know the kinds of things that you would need to, the way that you would be eligible to take those classes. Now, as a sophomore, your schedule won't have any IB courses because those courses do not start until the 11th grade year. Likewise, most of our students don't start AP coursework until their 11th grade year as well. There are some cases in which a sophomore might be ready for an AP math course or potentially an AP science course, but for the most part, most IB and AP coursework will happen in the 11th and 12th grade years. You should also know that many colleges will grant credit for passing the IB and AP exams with sufficient scores. Those exams aren't taken until May of your junior and senior year. So you still have plenty of time to prepare for and think about this. What will happen this time next year, spring of your sophomore year, you'll be invited to IB informational meetings to help you get a better sense of what the IB program entails. So whether you are going to be a full IB program, IB diploma candidate, or if you're just wanting to take core courses, there's plenty of time between now and next year for you to learn more about that. So rising sophomores, this time next year is when you'll be getting a lot more information about the IB diploma program. If you are interested in earning an IB diploma because it begins in your junior year, it is during registration in your sophomore year that you will actually start making those decisions. We would encourage you to check out the IB diploma information on our CHS website under the academics tab. Okay, if you are a student who is interested in collegiate sports, you want to play your sport in college, what you take in high school and the grades that you earn will determine your eligibility. So as I touched upon several slides before with our chart, you want to make sure that you are staying eligible and taking the proper coursework for NC2A eligibility. Your counselor will go over that with you each time he or she sits with you to do a credit check. And so it's just a good idea, especially by your sophomore year, to let us know if you are interested in collegiate sports so that we can make sure that you are reminded to sign up through the Eligibility Center by the spring of your junior year. And again, the eligibility for NC2A coursework, that certification process starts in the 11th grade. Most importantly, there's a website listed right there for you so that you can review what the requirements are and get more details about the NC2A Eligibility Center. All right, so let's talk about this situation if you've earned a D or an F grade this year, okay? Well, the good news is that you have a chance to kind of restart next year as a sophomore. So sometimes freshmen get off to a shaky start. There's a lot to manage in your freshman year, and no doubt a lot to manage this freshman year with so many changes that our school has undergone. There's a way for you to remediate, and one of those is by taking a summer school class. So if you earned a D or an F, especially if it's a class that you know that you're going to need for graduation or for your A through G readiness for college, then we would encourage you to take a summer school class. CUSD summer school registration is up on their website so that you can see what courses are offered. And again, our summer school offerings are largely intended to remediate English, math, science, and social science. Now, you don't need social science because you didn't have a social science this year. But if you got a D or an F in freshman English, we definitely would want you to remediate that this summer. Likewise, a science class so that you can be eligible to move on in your science, and also math. If the second semester of your math course you have difficulty, summer is a way for you to remediate that as well. So a bit more specific information about smart options for summer. Again, our CUSD summer school is intended for remediation because we do want you to have the opportunity to move forward in the fall. And so if you did earn a D or an F in English, biology, or the second semester, this semester math course, then we would encourage you to take summer school so that you can move on next year and proceed with the next level of your coursework. CUSD does offer one course for enrichment, pre-calculus, and that is a full year of pre-calculus. You will earn 10 credits, and students who are eligible for that are students who are in Integrated Math 3, earning an A, because it is a very fast-paced course. So if math is a strength of yours, that's something to consider. Students who might need a slower pace might want to wait and take pre-calculus in the fall. We're also offering 10 credits of chemistry, so some students have inquired if they can take chemistry, and yes, chemistry will be offered this summer for 10 credits. As mentioned before, Tech Ed is a course that should be offered through CEF, Claremont Educational Foundation, and that information should be on our website. And other options, if you're not going to take summer school, if you're in a position where you really want your summer to be a time for you to expand yourself in other ways, volunteer. Research. Some of you might still be young to intern, but it never hurts to ask, especially in industries that you're interested in pursuing after you graduate. Let's talk a bit about a term you will hear quite a bit, ROP, which stands for Regional Occupational Program. And we're fortunate that on our campus, we do offer a selection of ROP classes through Baldy View ROP. So these are just a sampling of some of the ROP courses that are offered here at Claremont High School. Throughout our region, you will see that there's a very extensive list of courses. Cosmetology, dental assisting, EMT, fire tech, many courses that in your junior and senior year will be available to you. Even though they aren't offered on our campus, there are many of our students who will take advantage of outside coursework that allows graduation credit through ROP. Again, you can sign up for ROP coursework in our College and Career Center, and these are excellent training courses that give students an idea of what real-life occupational career technical training will look like. Our counseling department advisement is based on the diverse Claremont High School offerings. We cannot recommend or advise on coursework that is outside of the district. Coursework offered elsewhere is subject to changes outside of the district's control in content, format, and pacing. Outside coursework may not meet graduation, college admission, or NC2A requirements. Courses offered outside of the district may not adequately prepare students for subsequent Claremont High School coursework. So in short, when students are inquiring about taking coursework elsewhere, you can tell from our presentation that there are lots of factors that we are considering when we're advising students, and that's based on our offerings. We cannot be held responsible for what is missing or omitted as far as the requirements and the substantial nature of any outside coursework. All right, so let's talk about scheduling for your sophomore year for the 2020-2021 school year. Now, in prior years, you would have received a physical course contract. Counselors would have distributed a paper contract to you that you would fill out and turn back in. Obviously, we're not in a situation to do that this year, but the good news is that we've developed a very easy to follow electronic registration form. So students, you will be notified to when that's up on our school website, and you'll be directed as to how to access the Google form for you to submit your electronic course requests. I want to just go over a few things that you need to remember as you're making your course selections. You need to make sure that you indicate your preferred start time. So most of you know that school, we have two different start times, either 1 through 6 or 2 through 7. The majority of students will take a 2 through 7 because we have more offerings during that time of the day. However, if you are a student who does need a first period class, you can request that by checking the 1 through 6. We understand that AVID students have a full schedule because AVID takes a spot, and so students in AVID may take 7 classes if desired. If that's the case, then please check the 1 through 6 option, and at the bottom of the form where there's a notes or comments box, you would just indicate that you are requesting 7 classes, and we'll know, and then you can indicate which one of your electives or which one of your alternates is your 7th choice. Also, rising sophomores, realize that you start your social science next year, so you will be taking world history. You'll either choose world history or honors world history. Both are college prep, but one is an honors course. Likewise, on the course electronic course contract, you will also be able to choose either regular sophomore English or honors sophomore English. The prerequisite for both of those courses is the grade that you've earned in your second semester of English, in freshman English. And so just be aware that in choosing an honors course for either English or world history, that we're looking that you've had earning an A in freshman English or a B or higher in honors freshman English. Now, your math selection for next year will be based on your current math course. So students who are currently completing Integrated Math 1A, you'll select Integrated Math 1B. If you're currently in Integrated Math 1, passing that with a C or better, you'll move into Integrated Math 2. Integrated Math 2 students will select Integrated Math 3, and so on. One thing to note is that we will hold virtual office hours during late April to answer questions that you may have. So if when you are completing your electronic course contract, you have questions or you run into a situation where you're not quite sure how you should select a course, this is something that we can address in one of our virtual office hours chats that you'll be notified of that. Also, as I stated in previous slides, science is a requirement for your 10th grade year because you do need to have a year of a life science and a year of a physical science. So if you are currently taking physical science, next year would be the year to take your life science. If you're currently taking life science, if you're currently in a biology class, then you would select chemistry for next year. Or if you're in ZooBot this year, you would most likely select physical science for next year. Also, as previously stated in this presentation, world language is an option for next year as well. So those of you who are currently in a first year language, we would encourage you to continue on into that second year. Whereas it's not a graduation requirement, again, it is an A through G college requirement that you fulfill 2 years of the same world language. If you did not take a world language during your freshman year and you wish to start a language, then again, we would ask that you would select the language of your choice. If you do not meet the prerequisite for a world language, or if you do not wish to take a world language, then you will choose an elective in place. So remember, when we are looking at your requests, we need to see that you've selected 6 courses for next year. So make sure that if you're not taking a language class, that you have selected an appropriate elective in place of that. Now lastly, as you're choosing your elective, you will notice on the electronic course contract that you will choose 1 elective course along with 2 alternates. We really encourage you to select alternates so that we don't have to select them for you. So again, we try our best to put you in the course that you request, but as some of you know, sometimes it's just not possible. There are sometimes conflicts in a schedule that don't allow us to give you your first choice. But our goal is to be able to give you your alternate choices. So we would ask that you would select one primary elective and 2 alternate electives for each elective spot. If you're taking 2 electives next year, then that means you'll have 2 electives with 4 alternates. So two alternates for each elective that you are selecting. So again, we will be holding virtual office hours in late April to answer questions. When you see the electronic course contract, it should be relatively easy for you to follow, but we understand that without that face-to-face interaction, you may have some questions, and so we will send you a reminder to notify you of the dates and times that we will have virtual office hours to answer your questions. We hope that this has been helpful. We hope that you are excited about your sophomore year, and we will look forward to receiving your course request forms and seeing you in virtual office hours if you have any upcoming questions.